minutes of the game. So with that win, the Bears are now 3-0, which may seem like kind of a weird time to kind of change quarterbacks with your team being undefeated so far in the regular season. So, I mean, what do you think about this, Ryan? Are the Bears making the right move here by starting Foles for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, 100% they are. My guy, former Philadelphia Eagle Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP, is the right guy to always throw into the fire, and he will get the job done. He has the experience as we know in the playoffs and in big games. And yeah, I think with Nick Foles, I think the Bears are a playoff team, and I think he could lead them in very good places down the road.
Yeah, that QB situation in Chicago certainly felt like it was one of those when things more than it was if, right? I think Foles being named starter was only a matter of time, right? I think I only got to briefly watch that game against the Falcons, but it really did seem like one of those situations where it was like, you're watching Trubisky play and it's like, oh my God, the Bears offense sucks again. Like, where's Nick Foles? When is he going to come into the game? Like, because like Trubisky was overthrowing his receivers left and right in the first half. I saw that highlight of him overthrowing that ball to Anthony Miller at the end of the half. That would have been a touchdown if Trubisky made that throw. So I think the game was certainly starting to head in that direction of a potential quarterback change being made. But I do think the timing for me was a little bit weird naming him the full-time starter. I mean, with the team being 3-0, I think it would have been more expected to see, okay, Foles just came into this game and saved us. We're going to still go with Trubisky just because Trubisky won us the first two games. And I don't think Trubisky has been playing terrible this season. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Bears football, so I could be completely wrong on that. But just based on this team is winning games, I don't think that Trubisky is really holding them back right now. So I don't know. I guess to kind of come out so early into the season and say that, Nick Foles is our full-time starter, it was a little bit weird for me to see.
Yeah, I've watched some games, and it's just the same old Trubisky. Besides here and there, he spurs together some drives, but in the grand scheme of things, is like we know that this was bound to happen. And normally, it's weird. We don't see a lot of times when a team is 2-0 and they just switch up their quarterback like mid game. But at some point, you gotta put the right guy in, and Nick is that guy. I mean, like what he showed that like. Maybe as a starter he's not the best, but if you need a guy and you're down a few points, like to put together a few drives, Nick Foles is that guy, and I think he's a top half starter in the league when he's healthy.
Yeah, I definitely think Nick Foles is a good quarterback. Like, I mean, we have to remember that this dude was the highest paid free agent last season, 2 seasons ago in 2019. He was the highest paid free agent 2 seasons ago in 2019. And, he got that gigantic contract in the offseason. So, I mean, maybe this is a good thing for the Bears because, Foles did not live up to the hype with the Jaguars, right? Like, I know injuries basically plagued his only season there. But, I mean, after he signed that mega deal, I think all eyes were on Nick Foles to kind of be that guy and be that savior for Jacksonville. So, I think maybe Nick Foles coming in could potentially be a really good thing for the Bears just because I think Nick Foles still has something to prove. And who knows? Maybe that QB change could be enough for the Bears to kind of get over that hump and into the playoffs.
Yeah, Nick Foles always excels in those moments when he's like the underdog and he has to prove another person, team, or anyone else wrong. That's what he's great at. So I do think he was worth that money because he's been underpaid for a lot of years and winning a Super Bowl is something not a lot of people have did, let alone a backup quarterback at the time.
So where do you kind of see this team now with the Bears, with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback? Because the Bears always kind of seem to me as like that 7-9, 8-8, 9-7. Like they're always kind of middle of the pack. So do you think that this move of putting Nick Foles in at quarterback is enough to propel them into the playoffs? Because I kind of see them right on the bubble right now. But, is this one of those moves where we can potentially see Nick Foles propel the Chicago Bears into the playoffs?
Yes, if Nick Foles stays healthy, like they just lost Tariq Cohen, one of their best offensive players, but he just showed in a brief stint where if he's healthy for the next rest the rest of the season, next 14 games about, I really do think that this is a 9-win football team at the very least, and he can prove to show that they're better than that 10 or more games. Their defense is still very solid, and they just always been missing that quarterback throughout the past like 5 years.
I don't know. I think for me, I don't know. You said that the Bears defense is good, but I mean they've looked a little sketchy the first couple weeks of the season. Like they've been giving up a lot of points. Like I don't know if that's something that the Bears should be concerned about, but I don't think Nick Foles is kind of, like the team's Lord and Savior, right? Like, but I definitely see it being an upgrade over Trubisky just because, like, I don't know. I think that game against the Falcons was, 2019 all over again for the Bears. Like, it just, Trubisky was just throwing away passes left and right. Like, I think a change needed to be made for sure. So, like, I don't know. I don't really see Nick Foles as being the guy that's going to put them into the playoffs, but it's certainly an upgrade in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree. I think Nick Foles is that guy, and I think in the playoffs, if he's there with an average, above average team, I think he takes that team to the next level, and I think he's going to do it again this year with the Bears. I mean, like, there's not there's not more than 10 quarterbacks, if that I'd rather have to be under center for my football team in a playoff situation.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's not a horrible take. I mean, we've seen what Nick Foles can do in the playoffs, but I mean, you think Nick Foles is top 10? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he's only 31 years old. He's not that old. Like he's still like the real thing has just been like he's got hurt here and there, and it's just like, yeah, like if he can prove that he's the guy, I think the Bears should give him an extension, like and just make him their. I think he just needs that. He needs that support, and he needs the talent around him too. And I think he's that guy.
I think where I see Nick Foles as being is like I don't ever see him being a starter for your team, right? Like Nick Foles is, and we've talked about this before. I think Nick Foles always thrives in that role of kind of being the number two guy, and then when things get rough, he steps in and he makes the move. Like if they were to kind of move on from Trubisky and name Foles the starter, I'm not like 100% sure that that's the best thing for Nick Foles because he's always thrived in that role of being the number two guy and kind of just waiting for the opportunity to kind of help this team when he needs it. So, I mean, like the rumors about Nick Foles is that he's not a very good practice player. Like he's never practiced well. So like maybe that's why he's just never good enough to kind of beat out the starting role ever. Or, I don't know, but he just always thrives as kind of that number two guy. So I don't know if that's the right move for the Bears to kind of just, cut Trubisky loose and then just, start with Nick Foles and have Nick Foles be the future. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's not the flashiest type of player, so he's not going to always stand out in practices. But like next year, I would like to see the Bears to just give him the keys to the offense at the beginning of a season, and if he's like, because to me, he hasn't besides last season with the Jags, he was the starter for one game, and then he came back mid-season for another game, and then the thing with Gardner picked up. Like I still don't believe he's been given that full like chance when he's healthy to be the main quarterback. And because I think, like I said, he's 31 years old. Like there's guys like Brady, Breeze. I mean, he's not on that like level all time, but like they're 10 years older. Like I still think he has a lot to prove in this league and a lot that he can give to an NFL franchise.
Yeah, I actually agree. I don't think it's fair for anyone to kind of say that he was a bust or a failure at Jacksonville. I mean, like you say, he got hurt in like, what was it, like the first or second quarter of that game, his very first game there. And then, the Jaguars, what they're doing. They cut Fournette loose. I mean, who knows what they're doing at Jacksonville. So, like, you can't really blame him for being in that system and being with Jacksonville because I don't think he was given a fair opportunity at all. So, I mean, who knows? We actually have never seen Nick Foles kind of be the number one guy. I think he was for Philly, but that was when Carson Wentz got hurt. So I mean, like if Chicago gives him the keys to the Porsche, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know, but it could go either way. I would feel more comfortable if I had Nick Foles on my team. I would feel more comfortable with having a young starting quarterback who still has a little bit of potential, like Mitchell Trubisky, and then kind of, okay, if Trubisky isn't working out for us, why don't we move him to number two and we can move Foles in just to kind of repair things. But I don't think I would ever, give him the keys to the Porsche.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I mean, he's the best backup in the NFL. It's not even close to me. I mean, if that's primarily his role, but the whole Mitchell Trubisky experiment seems like it's coming to an end real fast here. I mean, like he just doesn't seem like the guy they drafted, and obviously he's nothing near like the guy in Patrick Mahomes who they drafted over 10 picks later.
I mean, guys develop at their own pace. So, like, I don't know if it's fair to really say that Trubisky's a bust yet. I mean, we've seen flashes of him, but we've also seen, like, the worst Mitchell Trubisky. Like, we've seen the best of Trubisky and the worst of Trubisky. So I think having that safety right now, I don't think it's really time for Chicago to move on from Trubisky yet, just because I think Nick Foles is still a great safety option. But, I don't know. We could see Trubisky break out, but I do agree. It's always nice to have Nick Foles as the backup.
Yeah, I mean, when you got like, it's just yeah, it's a hard situation because teams in like that we've seen like the Titans, the Bucks, like they let go of their number one, number two overall picks like in the last 5 years. Like eventually, you just got to move. You got to move forward and see what's best for the franchise at that particular moment. And right now, it's Trubisky's just not the right guy for the job.
Well, why don't we move on